Mitch Marner's name obviously being bandied about here as his days in Toronto are probably numbered at this point. Can't imagine Craig Berube would and him would be a good match. And they need to do something to shake up that lineup anyway. Tavares has said he'd like to finish his contract out with Toronto, so he's not going anywhere. So Marner's going to be the guy. Now, there's a lot of different places he could go. He's got to be okay with it. But Anaheim, San Jose, Nashville, Vegas, Utah, and those are some of the names that have been teams that have been thrown around. Understanding that a big piece is going to have to go back to Toronto in any trade to kind of make things out. Where do you see Marner? What would be your ideal landing spot for Mitch Marner?
Norfolk.
He's not going to the ECHL.
I guess if we have to pick an NHL city for him, first of all, I don't know why people think if you scroll Cap Friendly's like armchair GM, the proposals there are just hours of content, man. If you are bored, may I suggest just reading through some of these trade proposals. They are nuts because some people out here are collecting, Mason McTavish, and they're collecting Owen Zellweger and a first and I'm like, homie, where? And by the way, Toronto's retaining no money. I'm like, who is doing this? Nobody is doing this. I think he ends up somewhere. I don't know where yet. I don't know. For me, I don't know why I would want a player like Mitch Marner when I know what I can get in the regular season, but I also know what I'm getting in the playoffs. Right? Like he's not. Some players just don't perform when they get to April. They don't do a very good job, and Mitch Marner is not. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. So I don't know why I'm hauling out all these players for Mitch Marner so I can overpay him too, because he's going to need money. So I'm going to have to give him a large amount of money so I can not win with him. The GM that takes him is going to make a terrible choice. So I just assume he's going to Utah or to Nashville. Those seem like two teams that would make poor choices.
That's where I thought he was going to go. Because if you have Stamkos going to, Montreal, Nashville still needs some scoring, and Utah just needs to make a move to have a name on the team. So it would behoove them to try to make a deal like this. I don't see him going to San Jose. I still think, we talked about last week. You talked about Bruce Boudreau being the coach for San Jose, right? I think that we need to know who's coaching San Jose before a big type move like this happens for them. Anaheim, I don't see it happening. So which is going to happen is Mark Stone is going to go on the IL forever until the playoffs, and Vegas is going to get him. Somehow, some way. Vegas is going to make that move.
Seems plausible.
I know Anaheim's got the pieces, but if I'm Anaheim, I don't know if I'm making that move. I'd rather keep what I have and see what that does versus make that move from Marner. Nashville makes sense if they don't get Stamkos somehow. Vegas, they've been throwing one of the big defensemen in there as part of the deal. I think Utah probably makes the most sense because it's a NHL recognizable name, low expectations. At least for the first year or two, nobody's going to expect Mitch Marner to do anything for Utah. So I think that's a soft landing spot. And they, like you said, they got to put some, besides whoever's left from the Coyotes, they need a bigger name there to put some butts in the seats once that initial buzz of a new team wears off.
I just don't think everybody's lining up for Mitch Marner. You know what I mean? So why am I paying this crazy astronomical price? Like if it was Austin Matthews, I would line up. If it was Willie Nylander, I would line up. It's not for Mitch Marner. I'm not lining up for John Tavares either. This is your problem. You keep it. It's the same thing for Mitch Marner. I'm not lining up to trade every asset that I got for a guy who's just going to underperform. Why would I do that? Why would I line up for that? I understand that he is a very good player. He probably makes the rest of you, like the rest of the players around him, good. But he just doesn't seem to be winning. He's on a team that doesn't win. But I don't think adding him to your team makes you a winner. He doesn't look like the guy who's going to go out there and win. And this could be the same conversation a little bit for Elias Pettersson. He looked absolutely lost in that round against Edmonton. Lost. He looked absolutely lost. Great player. Guy who can play in the regular season. The skill is there. But as of right now, not a playoff guy. And if you're here, you need to win 16 games in the playoffs. I don't think there are teams that are lining up to unload young players and all these draft picks and pay him money so you can get eliminated in the playoffs where it counts the most.
I don't think they're lining up necessarily as much from Marner as they know they can get a good deal because they know Toronto has to do something. They know Toronto has to make, they got to make a move. So I think that's what it's more about is like, we can get a good deal here. Maybe we can get 80 cents or 85 cents on the dollar, or, you know, have Toronto take like 80 cents on the dollar or whatever, because Toronto has that pressure. So that's part of the reason why I think you'll see teams kicking the tires just to see, you know, Toronto will take the best of, I don't want to say the low ball offers, but yeah, the amount of that people are expecting in return from Marner. No, it's not going to happen. But yes, Toronto is going to get a big piece, whether that's a high prospect, a pick, an NHL ready guy right now, but they're not going to get they're not getting a ransom for him. It's just not happening.
What they're getting is the flexibility to spend Marner's money differently. That's
Correct.
what they're getting. The flexibility and having the cap space to go out and fill the rest of your roster. That's my, if I'm Brad Treliving, that's my number one priority. I'm moving Mitch Marner. Yes, I need to get something in return, but the number one thing I need is to make sure that I have the space on my roster so I can go out and not get, 4, 5, 7th defensemen that I hear are just built for the playoffs, just built to win and then get bounced in the first round. I don't know, maybe a goalie that would probably help.
That's definitely an area of concern for Toronto. Also, the blue line. So that's to me, that's probably Toronto's only prerequisite at this point. Is it's got to include either a goalie that's ready to go or almost ready to go, or a defenseman that's ready to go. That's probably their only prereq.